Alrighty, oftentimes you guys want to know what is the best battle zero distance for AR-15s. So let's talk about an AR-15 or something similar, and we're going to lay out some parameters here for our standard. That way we can compare apples and apples. We're going to just pick one type of ammunition. Now this is a factory default setting off the Federal Ballistics calculator. It's a 55 grain full metal jacket bow tail with a ballistic coefficient G1 of 2.46, muzzle velocity 3,166 feet per second or 965 meters per second. Sight height is 2.6 inches, standard sight height, or 6.6 centimeters. Temperature outside is 25 Celsius or 77 Fahrenheit. Wind speed, that doesn't matter for this exercise. Altitude, we've set arbitrarily to where our shooting range is located in the mountains in California. So now, let's look at an assumption about target size. This is actually quite important because if you don't have a good assumption of how big the target is, then it actually doesn't matter, or you're not going to be able to get a good understanding of what zero is. So really, we have head targets and body targets. And depending on your application, you might care for one versus caring for another. For example, in the military application, we don't care at all for head-sized targets. In general, we don't shoot for the head. But then again, things like police snipers, they do care about shooting for the head-sized target, especially if they're talking about urban police, SWAT, hostage rescue type sniping. So anyways, we're going to find out some target sizes. Now, these are approximate sizes. They're a good estimate. This is what we use at the school. We use head 8 inches by 8 inches circle, or 20 centimeters circle. Torsos, we can use 16 inches to describe from the armpit to armpit, or we can use 19 inches to describe the shoulders to shoulders, right? So that ends up coming out to 41 to 48 centimeters. Torso height, we use targets which are 24 inches tall at Monarch Defense or Combat Rifle School, and at 61 centimeters in height. But U.S. military or NATO, they actually use a different size target. It looks like this. This is called a Type Echo, Type E, and they're actually really, really huge. So you can see the total height of this thing is 40 inches tall, super tall, and the total width is 19.5 inches or 49.5 centimeters. So this is about 1 meter by half meter, roughly. But that's a very, very big. This would be like an extra large size man wearing a jacket. I'm Asian, so this doesn't properly describe my body shape, but I guess if you're fighting really big people, Scandinavians maybe, okay, fine. So let's look at a couple zeros. We can, starting from top to bottom, we can go to a 100-meter baseline zero, or you're going to preview this, a 100-yard baseline zero, 50-yard battle zero, 36-yard battle zero, 25-meter battle zero, and 25-yard battle zero. Okay, so starting back at the top now. 100-yard and 100-meter are very similar. 100 yards and 100 meters only 10% difference, so they're very, very much the same. We do not use these for battle zeros, just to be clear. 100-meter is what we call a baseline zero. We use this for precision rifle work. Before we start gathering dope, before we start shooting for distance, we're going to get the rifle zeroed as a baseline. Now, 100 meters, 100 yards, they do the exact same thing. You don't need to worry about it. Just pick one, pick a system. I recommend you work in meters, but if you want to be in yards, fine, go to yards. Now, what's interesting about the 100-meter baseline zero for modern high-velocity rifles is that your near zero, your far zero, and your apex are all coincidental. They're all in the exact same place, and your max ordnance height is 0 inches, 0 centimeters. So this gives you a very, very flat trajectory for tiny targets at close range. When I say close range, we're talking example of police sniper taking headshots from across the street. I used to use 100-yard zero for practicing, and when I was out practicing precision rifle, when I was done, I would pack up my target, and I'd get up on top of the hill, and I would wait for the sun to start setting. As the sun begins to set, then rabbits would come out, and I would pick a rabbit that's somewhere between like 90 yards to like 115 yards, and I would shoot the rabbit in the eye, and I would take the rabbit home for dinner. It's great for target practice. Of course, it's very useless for fighting. Now, reason for that. Let's look at this diagram here. The yellow represents plus 9 inches, so 9 inches above the point of aim. The blue line represents where you're aiming. This point right here represents where the bullet begins, so you're looking at a bullet trajectory diagram. The bullet's going to come up into your line of sight. It's going to touch your line of sight, so near zero, far zero, apex, all in one spot. The bullet's going to fall away, fall away, fall away. You'll never see it again. You'll never hit what you're aiming for. But from here to here, you're going to hit exactly what you're aiming for. Exactly. So this is going to be somewhere between like 85 yards to like 115, 120 yards basically. And here to here, you're going to be just, like 2.5 inches low, 2.5 inches low up to like nothing, right? So this, what it does is it's wasteful on the top of the target. What does this mean? It means that if you're trying to, let's say, aim at a guy's face, right? Here's his face, and you aim for the middle, but you can actually never hit the top part of the head. You can only hit the nose down to the mouth. This is where we get the idea of aiming between the eyes or aiming between the ears, aiming high up in the head. So that way, if you drop down 2 or 3 inches, no matter what the distance out to about 200 meters or so, you can still hit the center of the face. Again, for military application, this is not important. For hunting, this is fine. We would use this for hunting in like woods hunting when you're shooting less than 100 yards, 100 meters, less than 150 or so. So again, 100 yards, 91 meters, it's the same exact thing. They're very, very similar. But we're going to start to see, looking at this diagram, we're going to start to see some near zero, far zero, and apex. They're minor, right? Look at the max ordnance height. Your max ordnance height, that's how tall the bullet gets at its maximum point, is only a tenth of a millimeter. Not even 1 millimeter, a tenth of a millimeter. So yeah, basically you have a flat ass line all the way from, in this case, 91 meters out to 116 meters. So you got a pretty significant time span where you're right there and it's perfect. So this would be very suitable for, again, hunting, police sniper work, or just target practice. Now let's move on. 50-yard battle zero. This is really common on the interwebs. If you're watching YouTube videos, a lot of people will tell you, go to a 50-yard battle zero. This is also very common in the United States because shooting ranges always have a 50-yard area. So your near zero, of course, is 50 yards or 46 meters. Your apex, the highest point, is going to be 132 meters. Your maximum ordnance height is 5.5 centimeters or about 2 inches. So if we look at the diagram here, that means that right here, the apex, the highest point, you're only going to be about 2.5 inches, 2.2 inches above where you're aiming. So this means that if we're fighting in close quarter battle, we're fighting in urban space, you can just look, aim, point, shoot, and you're going to be within, 2 or 3 inches up and down, which is really, really good precision. You can make head size, face size target shots. You can see you can hit a head size target out to 270 meters, which is about 300 yards. We are describing the max PBR, max point blank range, meaning the distance at which you can look, aim, point, shoot, don't need to make any corrections or compensation, just aim for the middle. And we're defining this as being 10 centimeters high above point of aim and 10 centimeters low below point of aim. So basically, out to 270 meters, you can just hit somebody. I mean, this would clip them in the bottom of the chin if you aim for the middle, but still, you could hit somebody in the head. Particularly if you hit them, low down by the ear or down by the base of the neck, this would still be combat effective. But it's not good for open field, military style application because it's wasteful on the top of the target. What does that mean? Again, look at the yellow line. The yellow line represents 9 inches above the middle of where you're aiming. So let's suppose you have a dude right here and you're aiming at the middle of this dude. Well, you're never going to hit him above like the stomach. Everything is going to be low. All shots are going to end up low. So you might hit a dude, technically speaking, you can get out to 315 meters for a body shot. But if the person is taking cover behind a rock or a vehicle or whatever, you're going to miss. And even if you do hit him, you're going to be hitting him down in the guts and the kidneys and the stomach and the intestines and the pelvis and the legs and parts that aren't that useful. We really want to be hitting high up in the chest. We want to be more combat effective. So let's move on. Summarizing, 50-yard battle zero or 46 meter zero. It's great for urban fighting, for CQB work, for home defense work, for really urban operations, but it fails in the open field military application. So next, moving on to the 36-yard zero. Some people, hipsters, they tend to wear skinny jeans. They tend to have purple hair. And they tend to ride bicycles with fixed gearing. But they believe that the 36-yard zero is the best because it's a compromise of the benefits of the, really flat trajectory but close range 50-yard zero. And of course, we'll talk about the 25-meter zero later. So the 36-yard zero is a great compromise. But the thing is, you guys are doing inch math and American math. Let me scroll up. If you're doing inch math, good luck doing math for 36 yards. No matter if you're in milliradians or you're in or if you're in minutes of angle, you're going to have a hard time doing 36-yard calculations. On the other hand, you realize that 36 yards is actually 32.9 meters. 32.9 rounds to 33 meters. And now we have a third of 100 meters. So for those who know, zeroing math is near and dear to my heart, and of course we practice lots of it here on this channel. So if you want to learn how to zero your weapon, you want to learn how to use this high precision weapon system, well, learn how to do some math. And so we could do base 3 math, dividing by 3, multiplying by 3. So 33 meters zero, that's really what this is. It's not a 36 yard because there's no way to do 36 yard math. It's really 33 meter. So the benefit of this is that it's easy math and it's okay on everything else. Right, so your near zero, 33 meters, your apex, 167 meters, which is close to, just under 200 yards. Your max ordnance height is about 5 inches or 12.9 centimeters. Again, given a certain barrel length, certain ammunition. Your far zero is at 285 meters, which is a little bit past 300 yards. And your max point blank range is 358 meters or about 400 yards. Not bad. It's all good. Fine. This is a good compromise. You get better precision. You're able to hit smaller targets. But if you want to hit farther, or if you want to hit headshots, you're going to require holdovers and hold unders. So again, looking at our trajectory diagram, looking at the yellow line meaning like basically where the chest ends and where the neck begins, you're leaving space on the table, right? What we want to do is we want to take this trajectory line, we want to stretch it upwards so that we're getting a max ord right here, this line right here, from blue to the trajectory. We want that to be 9 inches or 23 centimeters. And that'll give us a perfect, we can basically catch all bullets on the target and we can get the largest point blank range, right? So you can see the max PBR is okay at 358 meters, but it can be better. So now let's look at the 25 meter battle zero. Of course, many people smarter than I have slaved over the design of this weapon, this ammunition. And they've developed the 25 meter battle zero as a standard weapon zero for M16 series weapons. If you guys aren't doing a 25 meter battle zero, it's because you're watching too much YouTube videos and you're not understanding fully how this weapon is born, right? This weapon is born to give the best flat trajectory point blank range. What does that mean? It means I don't got to think about it. I just look, point, aim, shoot, hit the target. Obviously near zero is 25 meters. Apex, 204 meters, which is about 230 yards. Max ordnance height, 24 centimeters or about 9 inches. Far zero, your bullet's dropping back down at 357 meters or about 400 yards. Max point blank range is 400 meters or, somewhere around 450 yards. This is by far the best battlefield zero for 5.56 caliber. It gives you the farthest max point blank range for man-sized targets, but it is not really made for small targets. So if you want to shoot from head-sized targets, you're going to require lots of holdovers and hold unders. And that's really where we get into the training side of things. But again, for combat application, hitting the man-sized target is important, or highest probably hitting man-sized target. Hitting headshot targets with precision is not important. So again, understand what you're asking me for. You're asking me for battle zero. Don't then start confusing battle zeros with like dialing dope and zeros for snipers, okay? Because if you want to make headshots at 300 yards, you're outside of the realm of what the standard rifleman's job parameters entail, right? Let's look at this trajectory diagram. We have our bullet starting out 2.6 inches low. It's going to cross at 25 meters, 27.5 yards. It's going to rise. Max ord is 9 inches. Apex is a give or take 200 meters. And it's going to come back down, cross over. And again, we call this the 300 meter zero. 25 meters, 300 meters. It's not exactly 300 meters. It depends on your barrel length. So that would be for an M4. It depends on your speed of your bullet, depends on using 55s or 62 grain bullets, but we generally speaking call this the 25 meter, 300 meter zero. So this is going to cross down somewhere approximately 350 meters, and you're going to get a max point blank range in that 450 meter range. Again, depending on bullet type, depending on weather, altitude, temperature, barrel length. Let's look at finally the 25 yard battle zero. I'm going to cut right to the chase, guys. We don't use this. This is not a good zero. Don't do it. Oops, I'm sorry. Right there. Bam, I copied and pasted, right? And bam. And we're going to get rid of that too. Do not use this zero. All right, so let's look at this. Your max ord is not 9 inches. In fact, let's actually run some math. Your max ord, when we talk about the 25 yard zero, okay, here we have a 22.85 meter zero. and we're going to scroll. So look on column G, okay, right here, right where my mouse cursor is. We're going to scroll. Okay, there is your 0, 23 meters. And we're going to scroll. Okay, so you're rising, 15, 16, 19, 20 centimeters, 23 centimeters, 23 centimeters. This is where we want to be. Maxed out. That's the top of the target. This is where the target starts to end. You're going to start missing over the top of the target. So now I'm going to start highlighting. Everything that I'm highlighting, you're missing the target. All right, so now we're over the top of the target. We're over the top of the target, over the top of the target. Right now, we're at about 180 meters. We're still too high. We're over the top of the target. All right, we're at 200 meters. We're still too high. 215 meters, 225 meters. Everything I'm highlighting, you are missing. This is why we don't use the 25-yard 0. Again, we're talking about 5.56 caliber weapons with a 2.6-inch sight height over bore. All right, we're at 275 meters approximately. We're coming back down to what's acceptable. We want to be down at 23 centimeters right there. Bang. Everything that I highlighted, we're going to color this orange. Nothing that's colored orange is good for you because you're missing, right? So if we're dealing with the 25-yard 0, you're hitting. Let's color this all green, okay? All this is fine. You're going to hit the target. We'll color it green. All this is, we're going to color this red. Actually, I changed my mind. You're missing above the target. And then starting from 290 meters, 320 yards, you'll start hitting the target again. You're like, well, gee, that's not very useful. The most, hang on a second, I color coded that wrong. That's green again. Oh, I color coded it wrong. You're gonna have to sit here and watch me fumble on how bad my PowerPoint skills are, or sorry, how bad my Excel skills are. There we go. I'm sorry about that. I screwed that up. Okay, this is color-coded green. Bang. And this, we're going to delete cell. Okay, so you can see green, you're hitting, red, you're missing, and green, you're hitting again. So that's the problem. Let's go back graphically to our diagram. We do not use the 25-yard 0 because what it does is it positions your trajectory. Come on. Like this. All right. So it positions your trajectory like this. Now look at the yellow line. Yellow line represents the top edge of your target. Now what's above the yellow line is all missing, right? That's what we had in the other chart colored in red. So basically, this is not an effective 0. Because you just have a lot of area, the most useful area, that you're just not hitting anything. So max ord, as we saw from our other chart, max ord, we got 29, 20, 28, 28.7, 28.7. You got 28.7. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So let's find the median. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bang, that's the median. Right there. Okay. So your median is at 215. Yeah, 215 meters. That's your max ord. Your apex is 215 meters. And your max ord is at 28.7. So we're going to bust open our calculator right here. I'll put that into inches for you guys, just so you're learning how to do inch math and meter math, right? What do we say? 28.7 centimeters. We're going to divide this by 2.54. It's going to give us 11.3 inches, okay? 11.3 inches. So 11.3. We really want to be at 9 inches. So basically you're going to be 2 inches above the top of the target. You're going to be missing over people's shoulders, especially if someone's taking cover. If they're taking cover, in the prone or behind a rock or whatever, you're just going to be missing over the top of them. Again, this FAR 0, I don't believe that's set properly. Let's go check your FAR 0. FAR 0, we're looking for when positive switches to negative. Okay, cool. Bang, right there, we found it. FAR 0, 378 meters. 378 meters, okay? And our max point blank range is 427 meters. But we are missing over the target from, starting from 134 meters to 289 meters. 289 meters. Yeah, so that's a big problem, right? We're missing over the top of the target from 134 meters to 289 meters. That corresponds with these 2 points right here. All this spacing here, you're wasted. You can't do anything. You're not going to hit the target. So when we talk about optimum battle zeros, it's a compromise. And the way the American system is built is you aim for the middle, and we have 9 inches. We can hit in the chest above the center mass, and 9 inches below that we can hit center mass down over here. And so, like, for example, if we were to build this chart out, we would switch another, we'd put another one right like that. So you can see the 25 meter zero gives us an ideal trajectory that's 9 inches high right there, 9 inches low right there, and we're going to be spot on all the way to the end of our point blank range. And again, our point blank range for this particular weapon, this particular ammunition in this calculation is 411 meters or 450 yards. So out here, 450 yards. And this is what we want to see when we're talking about battle zero for AR-15s. Now, obviously, if you bring me a different caliber, you got 9mm pistol caliber carbine, you got short barrel rifles, subsonics, 300 blackouts, AK-47s, tall sights. We made the video yesterday about tall sights. These are all going to be different, right? So, but I'm talking about standard AR-15, 2.6 inches height over bore. This is the battle zero we want. 25 meters, apex 204 meters, about 225 yards. Max ordnance height, 9 inches. FAR 0, about 400 yards, 357 meters. Max point blank range, 411 meters, or about 450 yards. The best compromise of what we want to use this weapon for. Again, this is designed for man-sized targets, body-sized targets, and we're going to review that real quick. Body-sized targets, we're looking at 24 inches tall, roughly, 18 inches wide, roughly, between 16 and 19 inches wide on the body, and that's going to be perfect for the most common weapon systems in 5.56 caliber. Alrighty, folks, let's look graphically at a big ass chart that I made up for you guys. This took me forever when I made this yesterday, so hopefully it can make sense to you. We're going to compare all those different types of zeros that we talked about. Let me orient you to a couple important landmarks on this chart. The first landmark we need to know, this blue line right here, this represents positive 9 inches or 23 centimeters, and that's going to represent basically the top limit of where the human target ends. So we can already see that one of these lines, the teal colored line, is above that for a significant period of distance. Okay, so that's obviously your 25 yard zero, as we discussed earlier, and we're not going to use this, so it's off the table right now. We're looking at this orange line. Orange line is going to be coincidental. That's a little bit error in my charting, but basically this is going to be coincidental at 9 inches high or 24 centimeters high. And then that's going to be our 25 meter zero. You can see it gives us the farthest point blank range. Now, we're looking here at the bottom red line down here where all the lines end. This is, again, negative 9 inches or negative 23 centimeters, or basically where the target's going to end. So you're going to start dropping off the bottom of the target. Now, we look at these yellow lines and green lines. These two right here, they represent where the head is. So let's suppose you're aiming for the middle of the head. We're going to define a head as being plus 10 centimeters, minus 10 centimeters, right? So everything here is in centimeters. Everything down here is in meters at distance. So if we look at the distance between yellow to green, this is going to be like headshots. So you can see our 25 yard and 25 meter trajectories, they're just too high. They're too tall, and they're not great at making headshots. You can make headshots out to, in this case, looks like about 65 meters, But beyond 65 meters, it's just going to be too high, and you're going to have to start using a hold under. You're going to have to aim below the head in order to get a headshot. Now, if we were talking about, 36 yard, 33 meter zero, that's green. We're still outside the realm of headshots because in this area, we're still too high for making a headshot, but we can make a headshot out to about 100 meters, about 105 meters. So the green trajectory, okay, kind of cool, but again, it's not spectacular. Again, in combat conditions, are we really expecting to make a headshot at distances, at these type of 200, 300 meter, 150 meter distances when people are moving, bobbing, weaving? Also, with training, why don't we just learn to make a 6 o'clock hold? You can aim for the base of the head or bottom of the chin, and you'll still be able to make it if you just train with your 25 meter zero. Okay, let's look at your 50 yard zero. That's the yellow line. 50 yard zero, okay, we're good for making headshots. So you got really high precision. Basically, this straight line, this one in the middle, this zero line, that's your point of aim. This is where you're aiming. And so the yellow line stays pretty darn close to it, right? If we look at the highest point of the yellow, we are 5.5 centimeters, right? So about 2.5 inches, 2.25 inches, meaning 50 yard zeros or 50 meter zeros, both are fine, both are great. They would stay very, very close to your point of aim, point of impact. So that's great for self-defense, for home defense guns, etc. But again, if you're going to use a multi-purpose weapon that can be used for fighting outside, this is really not that great. Because it has a really pathetically short point blank range. So you got to understand something called overmatch. Someone who's shooting at 25 meter zero is fighting against someone who's using a 50 yard zero. 25 meter zero outranges him by a full 100 meters of effective range, ability to hit the target. So this is really, really important. Now, if we're talking about self-defense application, you probably don't care. It probably doesn't matter to you, but these weapons are not built as purely, civilian self-defense weapons. They're built as military weapons. And so when we're talking on the battlefield, we want as much effective range as possible so that we can outrange the enemy. We have a higher probability of hitting the enemy. When they're shooting at you, you're shooting back, everybody's stressed out, it's dark, everybody's moving, everybody's taking cover. Who has the highest probability of scoring a hit? That's what we're talking about right now. So finally, these two lines at the bottom are your 100 yard, 100 meter zero. You can see that the two of them are basically identical. They're hardly any different. And they give you the weakest or the worst point blank range. So we would not use this for fighting. You would miss everything that's above the middle of the target. So it's just not good as a combat zero. Combat zeros, we want them to be effective above the point of aim and below the point of aim, giving you good margins of error and maximum distance where we can actually hit somebody. Okay, if you have any questions on this chart is actually going to be available in the description. I'll put a link to this, and so good luck. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to address those questions and help you guys out. Anyways, my name is Brian Wang. Thanks so much for listening to this. Find us at monarchdefense.org and pay attention more Combat Rifle School curriculum. We'll see you soon.